Now, when he wrote a poem, and anybody else did it, he demanded that he got every word, that you got every word exactly right. So, Katie Lee very kindly sent me a tape recording of Gail Gardner singing his most famous piece, Tying Knots in the Devil's Tail. And if he can't get it right, well, then who can? Now, he was in his late 80s when he was on the stage in Prescott, and Katie Lee had to put her arms around his chest and hold him up so that he could sing into the microphone. So it was a little hard to do that and push the right button on the recorder at the same time. So it's got a little bit of an abrupt start. In any case, here is Mr. Gail I. Gardner of Prescott, Arizona, singing his own Tying Knots in the Devil's Tail.
Fiery peaks where the yeller pine grows tall, old Sandy Bob and Buster Jig had a rode their camp last fall. They taken their horses and the running irons and maybe a dog or two, and they lowed they'd brand all the long-eared calves that come within their view. And any old doggy that flapped long ears and didn't bush up by day got his long ears whittled and his old hide sizzled in the most artistic way. Now one fine day old Sandy Bob he throwed his ego down. I'm sick of the smell of burning hair and allows I'm a-going to town. So they saddles up and they hits 'em a lope, for it weren't no sight of a ride. And them was the days when a buckaroo could oil up his insides. They starts her in at the Kentucky bar at the head of Whiskey Row, and they winds up down by the depot house some 40 drinks below. They then sets up and turns around and goes her the other way. And to tell you the God-forsaken truth, them boys got stewed that day. As they was a-riding back to camp, a-packing a pretty good load, who should they meet but the devil himself a-prancing down the road. Says he, you ornery cowboy skunks, you'd better hunt your holes, for I've come up from Hell-Rim Rock to gather in your souls. Says Sandy Bob, old devil be damned, we boys is kinda tight, but you ain't gonna gather no cowboy souls thought you has some kind of a fight. So Sandy Bob punched a hole in his rope and he swang her straight and true. He lapped it on to the devil's horns and it taken his dallies too. Now Buster Jig was a riata man with his gut line coiled up neat. So he shaken her out and he built him a loop and he lashed the devil's hind feet. Oh, they stretched him out and they tailed him down, and while the irons was a-getting hot, they cropped and they swaller forked his ears and they branded him up a lot. They pruned him up with a dehorning saw and knotted his tail for a joke, then rid off and left him there, neck to a blackjack oak. If you're ever up high in the side of peaks and you hear one hell of a wail, you'll know it's that devil a-bellerin' around about them knots in his tail.